and welcome to the International Daily Roundup by People's Dispatch, where we bring you some of the major news developments of the day. On December 17th, the Seoul District Court sentenced 26 of the 32 accused belonging to the Samsung Group on charges of union busting. In a landmark judgment, the court found most of the accused, who are senior executives, guilty of sabotaging union activities in the company in the violation of the Trade Union and Labor Relations Adjustment Act. Board Chairman Lee Sang-hoon and Vice President Kang Kyung-hoon of Samsung Electronics, the former head of Samsung Electronic Services Park Sang-bum, Samsung Card President Wong Ki-shang, and Samsung C&T CEO Chung Kyum-yong were sentenced to 18 months in prison each, with different terms of probation and court custody. Samsung Electronics President Park Yong-ki was sentenced to a year and 2 years in probation. Meanwhile, Samsung Electronics, along with 3 Samsung subsidiaries, were also among the accused in the case, but they were acquitted. Samsung Electronic Services was let off by being fined a measly sum of $74 million, which amounts to approximately $63,000. According to the state prosecutors, the company and the executive used a myriad manipulation techniques of prevention of unionization of the workers. The workers were victimized and were also threatened with wage cuts if they were to take up union membership. The case has been going on for over a year, and after the state prosecutors received complaints from employees and also discovered a secret company document that gave guidelines for union busting. For years, Samsung has been at the forefront of campaigning against unions in South Korea and has among the lowest unionization rate among any corporate in the country. Moving on to Sudan, the transitional government of Sudan and a faction of the armed rebel group, which is the Sudan's People's Liberation Movement North, which is the SPLMN, led by Malik Agar, agreed to cease hostilities. This is a major step forward in accomplishing one of the most important tasks which is set before the transitional government, namely to put an end to the civil war which is ongoing in these states since 2011, leaving over 1,500 dead and around 500,000 displaced. A joint agreement will be set up to study the needs of the affected population, to identify the crossing points, and to specify corridors through which humanitarian aid can be delivered. The talks between the transitional government and the armed rebels, which were originally set to conclude by December 14th, has now been extended to February 14th, 2020. Moving on, thousands of Algerians, including students and teachers, participated in mass protests in Algiers, the capital of Algeria, on Tuesday, December 17th, against the Abdelmadjid Tebboune, the country's newly elected president. Protesters belonging to the Hirak Popular Protest Movement also rejected offers of dialogue from the new president. President-elect Tebboune had on Friday said that he was ready to take part in talks to build a new Algeria following his presidential victory. Protesters, however, had vehemently opposed the December presidential elections on the grounds that it was a sly attempt by the country's elite and the ruling establishment to keep power to themselves. The protesters had earlier demanded that all officials and the associates of the previous regime of the now deposed president Abdelaziz Bouteflika stop actively participating in Algerian politics or interfering in Algerian political affairs. The Hirak protest movement had started in February to oppose the then president when he had announced that he would be seeking a 5th term in office. The mass protests had led to the resigning of the president in April. The Hirak movement continued to hold rallies and demonstrations in the country on a weekly basis, demanding further administrative and structural reforms. And with that, it's a wrap on this episode of the International Daily Roundup. To follow our updates, our stories, and our videos, please log on to our website www.peoplesdispatch.org. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you for watching.
De pie cantar que vamos a triunfar.